Welcome to Hong Kong Brief. The content of the briefing includes: Ng wants to put on show at Olympic Games after 2023 podium breakthrough. Test of time, how Indian-Chinese couples brave the odds for acceptance. China is softening stance on gaming after $80 billion rout. Cainiao, Midea, SF and Mobvoi among hotly anticipated Hong Kong IPOs of 2024. Hong Kong shopping malls shun one-size-fits-all strategy over Christmas holiday. Ng wants to put on show at Olympic Games after 2023 podium breakthrough. South China Morning Post. Jason Ng Tai Long, a Hong Kong triathlete, is determined to qualify for the Paris Olympics and give Hong Kong fans a show. Ng won a silver medal in the Asia Triathlon Sprint Championships in November and is currently in a close race with Ayan Bisanbayev of Kazakhstan for qualification. Ng is part of a group of successful triathletes in Hong Kong, including teammate Robin Elg and Olympian Oscar Coggins. Ng is focused on his own performance and does not worry about his competitors, as he believes that focusing on oneself leads to the best results. Test of time, how Indian-Chinese couples brave the odds for acceptance. South China Morning Post. A new book titled Rebels, Traitors, and Peacemakers: True Stories of Love and Conflict in Indian-Chinese Relationships tells the stories of 14 Indian-Chinese couples who have defied family and cultural norms to be together. These couples, who come from a range of countries including China, Singapore, Malaysia, Australia, India, Nepal, Canada, the US, and Britain, face challenges due to the historically strained ties between India and China. They are often labeled as traitors for falling in love with someone from the enemy country. However, the couple see themselves as peacemakers who want to reconcile the differences between the two countries and create new identities for themselves. The book aims to focus on the hard work that goes into making these mixed marriages happen. It explores the challenges, compromises, and determination involved in creating these relationships. The authors, Shivaji Das and Yolanda Yu, who are themselves an Indian-Chinese couple, hope that the book will help others understand the struggles faced by mixed-race couples and encourage more acceptance and understanding in society. China is softening stance on gaming after $80 billion rout. Bloomberg. China has approved 105 domestic games, including those operated by Tencent and NetEase, in a move that suggests Beijing is softening its stance on the gaming industry. The approvals come after the Chinese authorities tightened restrictions on the sector, leading to an $80 billion market rout. The new rules include a cap on spending by adult players and bans on rewards for frequent logins and forced player duels. The National Press and Publication Administration has said it will listen to feedback from stakeholders to improve the rules. Cainiao, Midea, SF and Mobvoi among hotly anticipated Hong Kong IPOs of 2024. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong's IPO market has been one of the worst in 2 decades this year, with only 42 companies raising $3.13 billion in the first 9 months. The number of IPOs is set to shrink by a fifth, with 65 IPOs raising $5.9 billion, according to Deloitte. The market is hoping the IPOs of Cainiao, Midea Group, JD Industrials, JD Property, SF Holding and Mobvoi will inject some life back into the listing environment next year. Hong Kong shopping malls shun one-size-fits-all strategy over Christmas holiday. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong shopping centers are changing their promotional tactics this Christmas to adapt to new spending habits among mainland Chinese tourists and residents. Some malls are increasing their rebates, while others are implementing pet-friendly policies to attract more shoppers. Retailers are also focusing on offering immersive experiences, such as fitness and art activities, to appeal to local customers. The Hong Kong Retail Management Association has launched a shopping campaign to encourage locals and visitors to spend more, bringing together over 1,000 brands offering gifts and discounts. However, local retail rents are unlikely to return to pre-pandemic levels due to a drop in domestic consumption and increased online shopping. Super Sixes can grow lacrosse in Hong Kong before 2028 Olympics, coach says. South China Morning Post. Hong Kong coaches are hopeful that hosting the World Lacrosse Super Sixes tournament will help grow the sport in the city. The event, which takes place from December 29 to 31, will feature 6 men's teams and 7 women's teams competing on artificial football pitches. The coaches believe that the tournament will generate new interest in lacrosse and encourage more people to take up the sport. They also see it as an opportunity for Hong Kong to showcase their talent and for players to compete against top teams from around the world. Despite the retirement of leading player Kelvin Mak Ho Chun, the coaches remain optimistic about the future of the teams and believe that younger players will step up and fill the gap. The women's team will field 2 teams in the tournament, featuring a mix of experienced players and young talents. Box yuan support through fixing causes headache for companies. Bloomberg. Chinese companies have been using the People's Bank of China's artificially strong reference exchange rate for their foreign exchange accounting, resulting in paper losses. The PBOC has set the fixing consistently stronger than the spot level since June, causing dollar assets to appear lower in value in yuan terms on corporate balance sheets. This has prompted some companies to consider using the yuan spot rate for accounting purposes, moving away from the reference rate. However, the use of the reference rate is unlikely to impact the way the PBOC manages the currency. COP28's bounty of climate promises, what did we really get out of it? SCMP opinion. The recent COP28 UN climate conference in Dubai resulted in a declaration on transitioning from fossil fuels and numerous pledges and initiatives. However, the pledges made so far amount to less than 0.2% of the losses faced by climate-vulnerable countries each year. The conference also saw discussion of a phase-out of fossil fuels, which was later diluted to a phase-down in the final agreement. The Climate Action Tracker estimates that around half of the emission reductions promised at COP28 are unlikely to happen. The next conference, COP29, will be hosted by Azerbaijan, a country heavily reliant on oil and gas. Update 1 Dajin Group Consortium announces bid to buy Holosys Automation for $1.8 billion. Yahoo! A consortium led by China's Dajin Group Acquisition is bidding to acquire automation and control technology provider Holosys Automation Technologies in an all-cash deal worth $1.8 billion. The consortium, which includes TFI Asset Management and GA Technologies, is offering $29 per share in cash for all outstanding shares of Holosys it does not already own. The bid is 9.4% higher than the offer made by Ascendant Capital on December 11. U.S.-Canada military tracks Santa Claus for 68th year. South China Morning Post. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, has continued its annual tradition of tracking Santa Claus on Christmas Eve. The agency, which is a joint U.S.-Canadian military monitoring group, has been tracking Santa's progress since 1955. The NORAD Santa Tracker allows children to see Santa's location on an interactive 3D website. NORAD's tradition began when a newspaper advertisement mistakenly printed the phone number for the Military Nerve Center as Santa's hotline. NORAD's director of operations at the time decided to check the radar for Santa's location and update the children calling in. Hong Kongers staying home for Christmas holiday beat the chill with snake soup. South China Morning Post. Hong Kongers lined up for warm bowls of snake soup in Sham Shui Pa and hunted for bargains at a products expo in Victoria Park on Christmas Eve, despite the chilly weather. Immigration figures showed there was a net outflow of 517,606 trips on Friday and Saturday as people traveled across the border and overseas for the festive break. The cold spell in Hong Kong entered its 6th day on Sunday, with temperatures falling to 2.9 degrees Celsius in some areas of the new territories. How Xi Jinping is challenging dollar dominance with landmark Saudi deal. Telegraph. China and Saudi Arabia are deepening their ties as China seeks to challenge the global dominance of the US dollar. Talks between the two countries about pricing oil sales in renminbi, as opposed to dollars, have been accelerating, and in November, China and Saudi Arabia signed an agreement to set up a currency swap line worth 50 billion Chinese yuan, $7.7 billion. This landmark deal means Saudi Arabia has access to a supply of Chinese currency at a set exchange rate, and vice versa for Beijing and the Saudi rial. The deal is significant because if China's oil and gas trade operates in renminbi, it would be outside the Western financial system and effectively unsanctionable. Furthermore, it establishes a framework for a swap deal that could be scaled up easily in the future. While the renminbi is still a long way from challenging the dominance of the dollar, the number of transactions involving the Chinese currency is rising rapidly, and it has overtaken the euro as the second most used currency in global trade. China's video gaming watchdog speaks out after spending rules royal market. South China Morning Post. China's regulator has released draft rules aimed at promoting healthy development in the online gaming industry. The rules include provisions to protect minors and consumer rights, such as prohibiting games from forcing players to fight each other and offering rewards that encourage excessive play and spending. The regulator is seeking public comments on the draft until January 22. The announcement of the rules sent shockwaves through the gaming sector, with gaming-related stocks falling and Tencent's shares losing about 300 billion Hong Kong dollars in value. The industry is still recovering from previous government crackdowns on gaming addiction and restrictions on game time for minors. The slow resumption of game licensing in China has also affected the release of new titles. Flight disruptions plague Asia amid pilot shortage, supply chain woes. South China Morning Post. The Asia-Pacific region is facing significant operational challenges in its recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic, including slower border reopenings, pilot shortages, and supply chain disruptions. While global airline capacity has reached 97% of pre-2020 levels, flight disruptions such as delays and cancellations remain a major issue. The Asia-Pacific region has been particularly affected due to less efficient airports and delayed fleet upgrades caused by supply chain issues. Manpower constraints, including a shortage of pilots and ground handling staff, are further exacerbating the situation. These challenges are hindering the region's ability to fully recover and catch up with lost capacity growth. My family stopped giving Christmas presents 10 years ago. Here's how it changed us. The Toronto Star. Canadians are spending less this holiday season, according to a survey by KPMG, which cites rising costs. Accounting firm Deloitte predicts the average Canadian will spend $1,347, an 11% decrease from last year. The survey also found that many Canadians are spending less on gifts and instead opting for alternative ways to show appreciation. For example, people are offering babysitting services or helping friends with their job applications. Hey there, folks! It's your friendly neighborhood Dr. Six reporting to you from the vibrant world of 6 degrees. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying the holiday season. As always, I've got some interesting news stories to share with you today. So let's jump right into it. First up, we have the inspiring story of Jason Ng, a Hong Kong triathlete who is determined to qualify for the Paris Olympics. Ng recently won a silver medal in the Asia Triathlon Sprint Championships and is in a close race for qualification. He's focused on his own performance and believes that the best results come from focusing on oneself. I have to say, Ng's determination is truly admirable. I can't wait to see him put on a show at the Olympic Games. Next, we have a heartwarming tale of love and acceptance. A new book called Rebels, Traitors, and Peacemakers tells the stories of Indian-Chinese couples who have defied cultural norms to be together. These couples see themselves as peacemakers who want to bridge the gap between their countries. It's a beautiful reminder that love knows no boundaries and has the power to bring people together. Kudos to the authors for shedding light on these stories and promoting acceptance in society. In gaming news, China seems to be softening its stance on the gaming industry. The country has approved 105 domestic games, including those operated by Tencent and NetEase. This comes after the Chinese authorities tightened restrictions on the sector, leading to a significant market rout. It's good to see that the authorities are listening to feedback and trying to improve the rules. Let's hope this signals a more balanced approach to gaming in the future. Now, let's talk about IPOs. Hong Kong's IPO market has been struggling this year, but there's hope on the horizon. Several highly anticipated IPOs, including Cainiao, Media Group, and SF Holding, are expected to inject some life back into the listing environment next year. It's always exciting to see new companies entering the market and driving growth. Let's keep our fingers crossed for a strong IPO season in 2024. Shifting gears to the retail sector, Hong Kong shopping malls are changing their promotional tactics to adapt to new spending habits. Some malls are increasing rebates, while others are implementing pet-friendly policies to attract more shoppers. Retailers are also focusing on offering immersive experiences to appeal to local customers. It's great to see businesses adapting to the changing landscape and finding creative ways to engage with their customers. Who knows, maybe we'll see more malls embracing these strategies in the future. Now, let's talk sports. Hong Kong coaches are hopeful that hosting the World Lacrosse Super Sixes tournament will help grow the sport in the city. They believe that the tournament will generate new interest in lacrosse and encourage more people to take up the sport. It's always exciting to see sports events like this fostering a love for a particular sport and inspiring the next generation of athletes. Let's cheer on Hong Kong's lacrosse teams as they showcase their talent on the world stage. In finance news, Chinese companies have been using the People's Bank of China's artificially strong reference exchange rate for their foreign exchange accounting, resulting in paper losses. Some companies are now considering using the yuan spot rate for accounting purposes. It's always interesting to see how financial decisions can impact companies and their bottom line. Let's hope these companies find the best approach to managing their foreign exchange accounting. Now, let's take a look at the recent COP28 UN Climate Conference. While the conference resulted in pledges and initiatives, the pledges made so far are just a fraction of what is needed to tackle climate change. The phase out of fossil fuels was also diluted to a phase down in the final agreement. It's disappointing to see the lack of progress in addressing climate change, but it's important to keep pushing for meaningful action. Let's hope that COP29 in Azerbaijan will bring about more significant changes. In the world of acquisitions, a consortium led by China's Dajin Group is bidding to acquire Holosys Automation Technologies. The all-cash deal is worth $1.8 billion. Acquisitions like this can have a significant impact on the companies involved and the industries they operate in. It'll be interesting to see how this deal unfolds and what it means for the automation and control technology sector. Now, let's talk about a fun holiday tradition. The North American Aerospace Defense Command, NORAD, has been tracking Santa Claus on Christmas Eve since 1955. It's a delightful tradition that allows children to see Santa's location on an interactive 3D website. I have to say, it's pretty impressive how NORAD turned a simple mistake into a heartwarming tradition that brings joy to kids around the world. Kudos to them for keeping the Christmas spirit alive. Lastly, let's talk about some festive celebrations in Hong Kong. Despite the chilly weather, Hong Kongers lined up for warm bowls of snake soup and hunted for bargains at a products expo. It's always interesting to see how different cultures celebrate the holiday season. I have to admit, snake soup is not something I would typically associate with Christmas, but hey, to each their own. Alright, folks, that's all the news I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed these stories as much as I did. Now it's your turn. What are your thoughts on these news stories? Do you have any questions or comments? I'm all ears. Let's keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.